Today I'll walk you through the donor section of the software created by Contour Software for nonprofit fundraising organizations. I'll start by clicking the donor tab here, and inside there's a number of fields here, donor fields. What these are fields related to the donors. You could think of them as helper fields. Now, if I click counties, cities, salutations, etc., what it's done is group these into a list so that when you enter new donors, you don't get in a situation where you type a new name or a new city, it's a typo, and your data becomes very inconsistent. So by having fixed lists, it ensures the integrity of your data. So for example, if I click cities here, any of these bold links allow me to click on it and I can quickly edit it. Similarly, there's an add button on all these lists, salutations, organization types. I can easily add or edit simply by clicking on them. So anyway, let's look back. Okay, cities is obviously the city that any donor is based from. A salutation is the list of any salutations that the donors may have. Organization types, when you add an organizational donor, you want to classify what type of organization there are, so you would maintain that list here. Relationship types allow you to link donors, so for instance, parent, child, employer, employee, introduced by. These allow you to specify the two-way relationship between any donors in the system. And finally, attribute types. Any donor you create is going to have attributes, whether they're golfers, they're a director, a volunteer, top prospect, and this allows you to attach these attributes to any donor to simplify your searches later on to find a particular set of donors. So that covers the donor fields. Now if we move up the list here, statistics, this simply shows you the number of individual, household, and organizational donors you have in your system. The donor lists, what this is when you add new donors to your system, you may want to group them or put them in lists. So for instance, if you've entered a new donor, you want to send them a welcome letter or call them directly, it allows you to add them to this list, perform the necessary work and clear that list out once you perform, say, your thank you letters. And here again, I can edit these by changing any information here, or I can view the donors currently in that list. So for instance, if I wanted to send a mailing to this list, I could export them to Excel, possibly do a mail merge using Microsoft Word. So let's jump up to the donors themselves here. Basically, you're allowed to search by a name. You can specify the type of donor, whether they're inactive or not, and I have the ability to add individuals, household, or organizations. So let's assume I know the last name James. I can see this. There's an organization containing that name and 3 individuals. If I had a larger list, let's assume I only knew the first name started with CL. I knew it was Clint, but I was sure spelling. It'll take me directly to that name. So you have a very strict search engine to find these donors. And if I click on the name, I can go in and see all the information relating to that donor. I can do notes, put particular notes on this donor. I can add tasks. And finally, attributes. So for instance, let's assume this particular donor is a golfer. I can just select that. And he's also a volunteer. So I can save this, and you can see now I have 2 attributes. Now the reason I enter these, I'll show you later how we can perform powerful searches to find this data. So if we go to the custom searches now, I've defined 3 here: golfers, Oakville residents, board members. So if I open one of these up, essentially what I've done here is added the attribute golfer, and basically it'll do a search and find all my golfers. I can further refine that by, say, adding a city or adding any donation that they've made based on a fund, campaign, appeal, or search by county. And I can also look at other fields, for instance, when a donor was first added to the system, if I want to find maybe new donors that are golfers. There's a variety of searches here that you can perform and create your own very powerful searches. So let me close that. So basically, I've taken you through quickly the donor section. Where you can manage your database. You can then do very powerful searches to find particular donors. Your donor lists are lists that you build up over time. For instance, when a new donor is created, you may want to call a number of donors so you can add them to this list when you create a new donor. Let me show you quickly here before we close the demo. So let me add a new individual donor here, Mr. Terry James. And the formal name for all these names are calculated in science, so you do not have to do this. So here, so if I have any new donors, I say I want to add him to my welcome letters. So later on I can perform that search. And you'll see that these fields have all been filled in, so you have nice names for mailings, etc. You may want to use a variation on the theme. So let me save that donor, and if I go in here, you'll see the new donor's been added. Terry James. Anyway, that concludes this portion of the donors. Hope this helps you understand it better. Thank you.